Welcome, welcome, beautiful, gorgeous, radiant humans. I am so excited to give this training today. Um, and I'm so excited to hear how the breath work landed for all of you. And I'm so excited for myself. Like, I just finished kind of a 3 months of like difficult, heavy energy. So my brother got in his accident on November 29th and he passed away on February 20th, and he was in a coma during that whole time. And every year it's like almost like there's this like energetic fog that is over me that just feels so heavy. And I'm sure that Sydney, you've lost your brother, that you can resonate with this. And once you pass that day, it's just like I can see again. Like, I feel so much more myself. I'm so excited to share this training with you guys. Honestly, even yesterday, which was the day of his passing, the anniversary of his passing, was such an incredible day. Like, I'm so excited to just be in this new energy with all of you. I am in the middle of a storm right now in Scotland, so if I do cut out, I apologize. If we do end up having to like the call drops or anything like that, that is why. Okay, so welcome to day 2 of Timeless. I'm so freaking pumped to share today with you. I'm so grateful that you're spending your time with me, that you are here wanting to step more into your own feminine magnetism and really like take ownership of your creativity, your devotion, and your grit. So, this is what we are going to be talking about today, but we're going to be talking about it today through the lens of human design. So, I'm going to be sharing with you the different human design gates within your emotional center, because what influences your creativity, what influences your devotion, what creates grit? It's emotions, our emotions that we move through, the way that we feel these emotions throughout life, throughout our relationships, right? Like these are what drives our creativity, what drives our devotion, and what creates that grit. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I am going to just start off talking about the defined emotional center and then the undefined. I'll try to slow my roll here. I'm just so excited. I'm just like, "Ah!" I'll start off with the defined and then the undefined, and then I'll get into the actual gates. Okay. So, those of you that have a defined emotional center, just going to try and brighten. Guys, I'm on my phone because of the storm and my laptop. The Wi-Fi just isn't working very well. So we're going 4G, baby, LTE. LTE, 4G. I don't know what it is anymore, to be honest. Is it 5G now? Is it 7G? Are we 10Gs? I don't know. Oh, it's 5G. Sydney said it's 5G. Okay, cool. Sounds good. So those of you with that defined emotional center, coming back, you have this wave, right? So you have this emotional wave that happens for you. You have really high highs and really low lows. You have this consistent access to your emotional energy. And when you allow your lows to be an opportunity for you to devote even deeper to whatever, like, and you guys heard me talk about this in the breath work, like to be an opportunity for you to deepen your devotion. This is going to be key for you. So your lows, this is when you're like most creative. Like, this is when, so Sydney, you have a defined emotional center. This is when you're most creative, whether it's a low where you're like in rage, where you're in sadness, where you're like on your knees and you're like, why, God, why? Why is this man like this? Why is like this happening with money? What is happening here? When you're in that space, this is actually where you are most creative. And this is actually where your grit is going to be so activated, right? And that grit is what leads to your devotion. Like, I'm going to move through this low, create something beautiful, and when I'm creating that something beautiful, I'm going to activate my grit. I'm going to move past this. I'm going to feel every bit of it, and also I'm going to move through it because I know that I am devoted to something that is on the other side. whether it's devotion to your heart's truth, a devotion to your purpose, devotion to actually creation, right? Whether it's a devotion to being the parent you desire to be, whether it's devotion to the universe, to source, to God, like whatever it is. This is why we figured out what you were devoting yourself to the other day, but whatever it is, right? Like you are using this emotional center to help bring you there, right? You are using this low to create that thing that you are devoted to creating. Those of you that have an undefined emotional center, what happens for you is you allow, so again, this is like you're receiving because you have it undefined, you're receiving this energy, and whatever emotions that are coming up for you, they get amplified, right? When you're around other people. So you allow the amplification for you to teach you and give you wisdom. Okay. So whatever emotion you're feeling, like I have an undefined emotional center. If I'm nervous, there's something that I can take from that. If I'm frustrated, there's something I can take from that. Like there is creation for me as well. But what I like to do as an undefined emotional center is when I have this 0 to 100 that happens in my joy, in my sadness, in my frustration, in my excitement, in my whatever it is, what I like to do is I like to reflect on whatever that is. Like I like to reflect, okay, this is how it felt going from this 0 to 100. This is what it looked like. This is how I behaved after, and actually extract the wisdom from that. And when I distract the wisdom from that, that is when I share. So for myself, that's like when I create. What I'll do is I'll be like, okay, I'll be around all these people. I felt this emotion high and this emotion high and this emotion high. And then I go into nature particularly, and I discharge this emotional energy that I had taken in that had amplified my emotions, and I create in nature. So the way that my process works is I'll be in this like emotional high, whether it's a high of frustration, a high of love, a high of joy, a high of whatever. And I'll be in that, but when I process and create, that is when I go by myself and I discharge all of this emotional energy, and then that's when I write my best stuff. So that's when I'm in nature and I've discharged all of this emotional energy that I took in from other people. That's when I write like incredible posts, incredible emails that touch people's hearts. That's when I like write in my journal and like about the beauty that I see in the world in front of me. Like you guys are receiving an email this week that of everything that I experienced yesterday on the anniversary of my brother's passing. And I experienced so many different things. Like there was so much pleasure, there was so much sexiness, there was sadness, there was, you know, like beauty. There was so many things that I was feeling, and I went out into nature and I sat on the beach and I watched this like great heron like open its wings and just like let the wind fly like flow through its feathers, and I like was sitting there just crying looking at this great heron, just being so grateful to be alive, you know? And this is what will happen for you guys, I think, when you step out, like out of the relationships for a moment, like step out of the external energy and come back to your own self, to your own emotions, to your own like more emotionally keeled space. Sorry, excuse me, I almost need to sneeze. We're good. Instead of letting your emotions lead you in that 0 to 100 space and creating from that space, this is going to be really big for you, because this is you devoting yourself to leading yourself, right? So those of you that have that undefined emotional center, your devotion is leading yourself. This is your I'm devoted to leading myself instead of letting my emotions lead me in these situations where I'm going from 0 to 100, and I'm going to gain all of this wisdom from this, right? From the emotions that I'm feeling at such a high caliber. But my most beautiful creations are not when I'm in that. It's when I actually take the step back, I have the wisdom with me, and I create from this space, right? From this space of like, this is my true energy. Those of you that have that defined emotional center, you're going to be creating from these spaces of the highs and the lows. But like I said, particularly the lows, this is when you have your best creation energy. And it's devoting yourself again and again to your creations. Like, yes, I'm in the low, but I have the grit to move through this. I am resilient and I'm going to move through this. And I'm devoted to creating something beautiful out of this. Even though I'm in that low, I'm devoted to creating something beautiful. So, like, even if, you're moving through difficulties within a relationship, even if you're letting somebody go or letting a job go, maybe you're struggling with money, like for you, it's really this energy of what am I going to create from this? I'm going to be really, really, really present with this sadness, with this frustration, with this anger, with whatever it is. What am I going to create from it? So many of you create the most incredible like programs, the most incredible courses, the most incredible experiences for other people because you have experienced that low. So, for example, like for Sydney and I have that undefined emotional center. She has that defined emotional center. She created Shameless. Like that was Sydney's idea because she was moving through the shame of releasing her marriage and moving through other things that had cultivated shame throughout her life. And and she created Shameless, which impacted so many of you, right? And so many of you were like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly how I feel. This is something that I've moved through. And she was devoted to creating, right? But also allowing herself to be in that low of I feel this shame. I feel sad. I am grieving. I am frustrated, right? And then for myself, I've moved through these like very intense relationships where I have really had like the 0 to 100 come up for me. And for me, I need so much of that time to process on my own within my own emotional energy so that I could bring something to you guys, which is how Feminine Reborn came about, which is how Timeless came about, which is how so many of the programs that like you guys have loved has come about because of the the wisdom that I've extracted from these very emotional experiences, but I've extracted them well in my own energy, well on my own. I needed to create this space, okay? This physical space. And that's also why sometimes you guys will see me step back, right? And like the stepping back is so important for me because then I'll just be in this 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100 space where I'm like, I'm really jolly and excited, but then I'm really, really sad. And I'm like, and it's just chaotic. And if I was always in that space, I would be always bringing this chaotic energy to you guys. And I wouldn't be in that creation. So for me, I have to step back in order for me to create because I have to take the wisdom, I have to discharge this emotional energy and then create from that space of like I almost want to say like I don't want to say emotional like emptiness, but like of like my own emotional truth. Okay. So let me see what we got here. Let's get into the gates. I'm going into teacher mode. I have, I hope you guys can see this. This is the emotional center. Can you see it? It's like backwards for me. So I'm hoping, yeah, okay. Um, this is so strange that it's backwards. It feels weird. Um, okay, so we're going to go through the different layers of energies within each of the gates. If you have an open emotional center, just know that you will experience each of these gates at some point. And that's because within human design, there is a transit, right? So we transit through all 64 gates. So even though you don't have a consistent access to these gates, you will have access to them at different points throughout throughout time, throughout each cycle, each kind of lunar cycle. So I need to like put this beside me, I think, so that I can actually see it. Yeah, that feels much better for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't look at this. It's too reflecting, like too backwards. Okay, so let's start with gate 36. I'm already reading it backwards. Gate 36, okay? We're going to talk about the creation energy. So this is what you transmute, and then we'll talk about the devotional frequency that comes out of it, and then we'll talk about the grit. So this is really like the challenge that you're going to move through, okay? So we'll start with gate 36. This is the gate of crisis. So with the gate of crisis, you attract I have this gate. You attract emotional crisis for growth and for stimulation, okay? So for you, you're going to be devoted to wisdom. So the crisis is the creation. Okay, so the crises come in, and this is what's going to um, be the creation energy for you, where it's like, okay, I'm creating this crisis, which sounds horrible, but it's true, right? Like it's like you're creating this crisis again and again, this emotional crisis. You're attracting it. This is the creation, but you're gaining wisdom from that crisis. And the way that you gain that wisdom from that creation of that emotional crisis is through stillness. So this stillness, this is your grit. This is the biggest challenge for you, is actually finding stillness within the chaos of the crisis, so that you can reflect and extract wisdom, and that would be your devotional frequency. And this is going to be what you're putting out into the world. Okay, this is what you're going to be devoted to. Let's get into gate 22. So gate 22, oh, I guess I like touched this a little bit, my bad. Gate 22, this is the gate of grace, the gate of openness. So your creation energy is going to be grace. It's going to be openness. You want to create these emotional interactions that feel very open. You feel this pressure to share your emotions. You feel this pressure to be very vulnerable with people, to share like your feelings and your emotions, and you empower other people when you do that, to also be open as well. Who do you think has this gate? This girl. I also have this gate. Okay, so this is the energy you're creating, this grace energy. Okay, this openness. Now, your challenge is your desire to fit in, okay? Because this energy has a lot of emotional depth, and there is a lot of insecurity about being vulnerable and having such emotional depth. So your challenge is this desire to fit in. The amount of times that I've been like, oh, you know what, this is too much for people, I'm just gonna like take a step back. This is too much. I want to fit in. I want it to be, like acceptable for everybody. We went too deep again, especially because I have gate 48. So there's like this double down of depth, right? So this has been my greatest challenge growing up. I don't struggle with this anymore, but this was a big thing for me. This desire to fit in. But then that moving through that desire to fit in and getting past that brought me to this passion. So you guys are able to feel my devotional energy and frequency of passion. You feel my passion. This is the energy that I'm putting out. This is what I'm devoted to. So again, this is what you're going to feel. This is kind of like the keynote frequency for you. Those of you that have this gate 37, this gate 37 is the gate of friendship. So what you create is friendship and community. You really value creating connection with other people. This is a very, this goes right to the heart, right? So this is as a channel. So this is like the energy of like tribal and community. Like this is literally a part of that tribal circuit. So for you, you're creating connection, you're creating friendship, you're creating community, and you're able to hold community and nurture community. Okay. So that is what you are creating. Now, the thing that's difficult for you, what you have to move through and really activate your grit in order to move through, is letting go. So, letting go of relationships, of jobs, mainly, I will say it's mainly relationships with people that the relationship is no longer serving, right? Because you want to hold that community, you want to keep that community. But that letting go, there, what can happen is you're not letting go, and then you end up settling. And then what ends up happening is you aren't in your devotional frequency, which is harmony. But when you reach that space where you actually get to a place where you're able to let go again and again and again, it, you know that on the other side of that there's going to be this harmony, and this is the devotional frequency for you. Inner harmony. When you create this inner harmony, this is what's going to create the outer harmony for you, and this is what's going to create a community that's filled with harmony for you. And that is going to feel really, really good for somebody that has that gate 37. The guy that I'm seeing right now has this gate 37. And it is so evident how important it is for him to have that inner harmony. But it's also so evident how difficult it was for him to let go of particular relationships that were not serving his highest good and not bringing him to that space of harmony. But this is the frequency that he's putting out now, right? And I feel that from him. Then we have gate 6. So, gate 6, this is the gate of friction. I also have this gate. It's funny, I have an undefined emotional center, but I do have a few gates in here that are like very, very emotional and very like crisis, friction, right? Like it's kind of funny. But I have the gate of friction as well. Excuse me. So this is to stimulate you. You create friction to stimulate growth and also create deeper connection. Again, this is another layer of my own depth, right? Same thing for anybody that has this. Sorry, I'm going to move over so you can see this full thing. Same thing for anybody that has this. You really, Sydney's laughing to herself right now, right? There's this friction that you're going to be constantly creating to also, create deeper connections and stimulate growth. I will say a lot of the time it's less creating friction with other people for myself, and it's a lot more like creating friction within my own life to stimulate growth. um, that is something that's come up for me personally. So maybe for you, you're like, I don't create friction with other people. It might be for you as well, where you create more friction within yourself and within your own life to stimulate that growth and deepen your connection with yourself so that you can deepen connection with other people. So for you, the biggest kind of hurdle where you're going to have to activate your grit is vulnerability. So this is a big one. A lot of people that have this gate, they're like, people like people aren't being as vulnerable as I want them to be, right? And what ends up happening is it's not typically that people aren't being as vulnerable as you want them to be, it's that you have this fear of being truly vulnerable with other people. Okay. So it's like if I'm truly vulnerable with other people, if I show my whole self to you, holy, what's going to happen? Like, am I going to get rejected? Right. So this is like, am I going to get rejected? Am I not going to be accepted? Are you going to judge me? Are you going to abandon me? Right. So this is what happens. There's this fear of vulnerability. So when you get past that and you activate your grit, you're going to get to this space of peace. And this is the devotional frequency for you, is this peace, because after every time you move through this friction, and you stimulate that growth, you deepen the peace that you have, right? You deepen the the frequency of that peace. So because of all of the work that I've done on myself, and I think I've told you guys this before, the last person that I was seeing, like my last boyfriend, he said to me over and over and over again, like, I asked like the universe for someone that would bring me peace. And you just bring me so much peace. Like your energy is so peaceful. It's so peaceful. And this is the frequency that I'm putting out. Why? Because I've opened myself up to vulnerability, and I was very, very vulnerable with him. I showed him parts of myself that I was very afraid to show people, like particularly parts of myself around like spirituality and like having these different selves and different dimensions. And I was always like, oh my gosh, can I share this with a man? Like, are they just gonna think I'm crazy? They're gonna think I have like multiple personalities or something, you know? Like, and it was funny because the person that I fell in love with before that, he wasn't as vulnerable with me as I would have liked. Like, he wasn't, but what I had realized was that it wasn't that he wasn't as vulnerable with me as I would have liked. It was that I wasn't fully saying how I felt about him. I wasn't fully saying how I felt about the situations, because that meant that I would be really vulnerable, and he had the, opportunity to deeply reject me. So I was avoiding that pain. And that was kind of that was a big step in the vulnerability for me and the grit around the vulnerability for me. And then came that next relationship, and I was truly vulnerable with that person, and he felt that peace, and I felt that peace. And when we split, it was the most peaceful split. Like, it was a conscious separation, right? And you guys may have read my emails. Like, when we separated, it was like from so much love. And he gave me tickets. Like, he had a Christmas present for me. He gave me tickets to go see this concert. And I went and I saw this concert with one of my best friends. And like, we received so much. Like, it was so beautiful in Oban. And we went to the concert, and like, I mean, I got vomited on by a 14-year-old. That was not me receiving very much. But we went to this concert, and it was like so incredible. Like, it was their like 25th anniversary concert in Oban within Scotland, and it was like this Scottish band. And we like went back to the hotel, and the guy liked us so much that he gave us like these free whiskey glasses and free whiskey. And then another like older man was talking to us and just loved talking to us, so he gave us free whiskey, and he didn't even stay to chat more. He just wanted to buy it for us. Like, we received so much. um and that was because I really had to break through that vulnerability. And when I did, that person felt it, and that brought them so much peace. Okay, because that was the frequency that I was putting out. So the next one is gate 49. Okay, so great. Gate 49, this is the creation of revolution. Okay, so you are revolutionary through your principles and your values. So you have like, you live by your principles and by your values. Like, this is very, 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 very important to you. And this is kind of like that revolutionary energy, because you show other people that these are the principles and values that you live by. And it changes other people when they're in your energy. It may even change their own values, it may even change their own principles. Like, this is what you are creating. But then you also have the grit here, right, which is rejection, plus values. So this is very much like this energy of, if I share my true values and my true principles, will I be rejected? Right? If I share these, if I embody these, if I live these, will I be rejected? Will these values be rejected? So this is what you kind of have to move through, because this is going to be, yeah, this is going to be hard. This is going to be one of those things where it's like, it's not like you need to be loud and proud. It's that you have to live these values in order for you to feel like you're living your truth. Right? And when you do, this is when the truth frequency comes through, and this is your devotional frequency. When people experience you living your actual principles, your actual values, and you're not just living them, you're embodying them within your energy, this is when people also experience your 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 truth, right? And this truth frequency washes over people. It washes over people, and like I like to say, it's like it's almost this like refreshing energy where people are like, ah, oh, you're so refreshing because you are living your truth. You're not just doing what people say you should do. You're not just living by the values that people say you should live by. You're not just right. So this is this energy. Next we have, so second to last, gate 55. So this gate 55 is the gate of spirit. I'm just going to fix this. Here we go. Is the gate of spirit. So it's connected to gate 39, which is the gate of provocation, right? The provocateur. So they're very connected. So those of you that have this gate of spirit, you are creating spiritual provocation for people. So you're getting people to kind of look past the surface level and provoking their spirit. This is the creation energy for you. So you're provoking spirit with your energy, with what you write, with what you post, with what you share, with your interactions. Like this is how you are provoking spirit within people. This is the creation energy. The big thing for you to move through, so the grit, right, that you're going to have to activate is repression, because you have these very big like emotions and such sensitivity to your emotional environment. um Repression is something that you might move through, that you will probably move through. So it's really, there's, I mean, with this gate there is repression, but there can also be the like overreaction. So like in this like overreactivity, right? Because you're so sensitive to your environment. But the repression is a big one. Like this is why I chose repression and not the overreaction, because I think repression is bigger and actually going to be more of the grittier journey for you. Um, is this like, okay, I'm provoking this spirit, and I have these feelings, and you're provoking this spirit within yourself as well. So repressing your emotion to create safety, or this illusion of safety, is what can happen. So this is going to be where you're going to have to activate your grit and be real about your emotional energy, and actually feel your emotions instead of like suppressing them or repressing them or pushing them away. Like actually feeling your emotions. So like the other day, like I was thinking about my brother, and I walked all the way home and I was just like crying, and I just let myself cry, and people were looking at me like, what is wrong with this chick? And I was just like, I'm just letting myself cry. And this was this is kind of what I see for you guys. Instead of going to the bathroom and crying in the bathroom and then wiping away your tears and trying to just do it super fast and then be like, okay, I have to go do the things now. I have to go show up. I have to be a mom. I have to do this. Like allowing yourself to be in the emotion, right? And same thing with joy, like with joy, with grief, with sadness, all of it. Like even with joy, it's like maybe you're around somebody that is angry all the time, that is grumpy all the time, that wants to be mad at the world, and you repress your joy so that you don't make them feel bad, so that so that they don't feel like they have to meet you at your level, like, or whatever it is. Like this is why it's so important for you to feel these things, because what's going to happen is your devotional frequency is going to be awareness. So this is the awareness of your sensitivity to your environment and awareness to your emotional environment in general. This is like the devotional frequency for you. You're going to be able to pick up just like that, like the quality of your emotional environment and the awareness of other people's emotions, because you've allowed yourself to feel your own emotions. You're able to pick up um, on the emotional energy that's around you and when other people are moving through those things. So this is the devotional energy of that gate 55. Then we have, last but not least, gate 30. So this is the gate of feelings. You are somebody that wants to freaking live. You want to feel all of the feelings. You want to move through all of the experiences. Like you just want to live. Um, you have big dreams as well. You're somebody that's like a very big dreamer, and you want to go after your dreams. Now, because you have all of these dreams, there's what can happen sometimes is it's a little bit chaotic. And some of the dreams aren't actually being birthed from truth. They're being birthed from like a momentary feeling or a momentary emotion or a momentary thrill, right? Because this is very thrilling. Like this is called, this gate is literally, it's the gate of feelings, but it's also called clinging to fire. So you're literally like, okay, ignite, ignite, chasing this, chasing that, chasing that. And because of that chasing energy, what can end up happening, because you want to like have all of these experiences all the time, is burning yourself out, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm going to chase after this dream, this dream, this dream, this dream, instead of I'm going to live this, I'm going to magnetize this, I'm going to take aligned action towards this. And it's almost kind of like how a generator, you know, pushes themselves out of alignment by doing the busy work out of fear that nothing will happen if they don't do the busy work. This kind of is the same energy with gate 30, where it's like, I'm afraid that if I'm not doing, then I'm not living. If I'm not doing, then it's the dreams aren't going to happen. So like this is where the chasing energy comes in, and then the burnout comes in. And this is burnout emotionally, this is burnout physically, this is burnout in all of spiritually, like in all of the ways that can happen. But when you move past this kind of I need to chase all the time, and you move past this feeling of burnout, and instead you discern, you use your strategy and your authority to discern which dreams are correct, which is my truth, what do I actually want to follow, then you're not using all of your energy to the point of burnout. And when you do that, that brings this receptive energy. So this is like your devotional energy is openness and receptivity. So the other thing that can happen with people that have this gate is you have very high expectations. So you have high expectations for your dreams, high expectations for your relationships, for all of your pursuits. And what ends up happening is because you have these high expectations, you tend to be a little bit more closed off in terms of the results. You think, okay, this is what the result's supposed to look like. This is what I'm supposed to achieve. This is the goal. This is what it's supposed to feel like. And you kind of get stuck in this supposed to energy and the should energy. But when you open yourself, right, you open your energy to being receptive of whatever the experience is, because of course you want to experience, you want to feel, you want to, like, you're literally always wanting to have all of these new experiences. When you're open and receptive to receiving whatever that experience has to offer, whether it's what you think it should be or not, this is when your energy shifts, and this is when you begin to attract all of the things that you desire in terms of um, your dreams, in terms of your feelings, what you want to feel, in terms of your relationships, because you have opened your receptivity instead of saying, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what I'm supposed to feel. This is what the result is supposed to be. This is what the achievement's supposed to be. This is the way that I'm supposed to get there. Instead of that, opening yourself to the wisdom of the experience, the more and more you're going to bring in the correct experiences for you. So this is this is the emotional center gates and how you can tap into them in terms of your grit, in terms of your devotion, in terms of your creation, and actually become timeless. So this concludes the training. Does anybody have any questions before we conclude?
I think I just have one. Um, so like myself, I have a defined emotional center. And you were talking about how we have really high highs and really low lows, and how creation can flow a little bit easier from those places. And I love that. However, sometimes those emotions feel overwhelming. So, is there anything that you have learned in your time to like help not really like control the emotions? Or what would your advice be? Because I know, like, personally for me, I tend to take those emotions, put them in a box, and shove them in the corner of my brain, right?
Yeah,
Frequently. And so I'm moving into a space of just allowing myself to feel all the feels. And sometimes that does feel like an overwhelming sense of it's almost like I'm gonna pop out of my skin. So what
yeah.
yeah.
So those of you that have a defined emotional center, um, surrendering to your wave is going to be huge. So instead of trying to control your wave, surrendering to it. So surrendering to the high when the high comes, surrendering to the low when the low comes, and then getting to that space of neutrality. One of the big things with, those of you that have an emotional center defined is that, you end up suppressing your emotions because they're so big, right? So when I talk to people that have a defined emotional center, they oscillate between the two where it's like I'm such an emotional person and and I just want to chase after the highs and I don't want to be in the lows because the lows are too much. And then they almost feel a little bit bipolar. Like that's literally how they can feel. Like I'm so high and then I'm so low and like I can't regulate this. But this is something that's such a gift for you guys because you have this full spectrum of emotion, like this capacity to feel the depth of a low of like that sadness, but also because you have that depth of sadness, you're able to have that depth of joy, right? You're able to access depth on either end of the spectrum and not just the one side. So holding on to that, right? Like opening up to that, okay, I know that when I allow myself to feel this depth of sadness or this depth of grief, that this also opens the portal for me to feel that depth of joy, that depth of love, like to more like deeper than I would if I just was in the high all the time and chasing the high all the time. Now, a lot of you also resonate with being not emotional at all, right? So you feel like you oscillate because you're like, I'm not emotional at all. I'm not connected to my emotions because I can't be. And that's because of this feeling of like, it's too much. Like, I'm too emotional. It feels like too much. It feels like I can't take it. But this again, like I said, when you allow yourself to live in these emotions, to be present with them, honestly, the faster you're going to move through them. Because when we know that when we put something in the corner, it's still in the corner. It didn't get swept up, it didn't get cleaned up, it's still in the corner. It didn't go away, right? It's like if we put, something like it's like if there's like this mold in the corner and we're just like, okay, well, you know what? I'll clean it later. 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 And then a month goes by and then the mold has infested the whole wall and you're like, "Wait, what?" Like it's just going to get bigger and it's going to take up more space. So if you're not feeling the emotion then and you're just like, okay, I just need to chase the high, I just need to be in the high, I just need to be in the woo, 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 woo. It's just going to get bigger. And then you get to this place where you're like, I thought you would go away. I thought that I pushed you away. I didn't. Oh no. Now you have infested not just the wall, but the couch and also the other couch and also the vent. And now my joy has this blanket of mold spores on it. Now my gratitude has this ash of like, you know what I mean? Like has again this blanket of mold spores on it and they lost the purity. So that joy lost its purity. That gratitude lost its purity. But so did the sadness. That also lost its purity. So no matter what, there is going to be times where it's going to feel overwhelming. And that's when you surrender to the overwhelm instead of trying to control it, instead of trying to change it, instead of trying to fix it. You surrender to it. And when you surrender to it, the faster you're going to move through it, the faster you're going to be on that other side. Does that make sense? Might not be the answer that you wanted, but I don't think it's the answer that a lot of people want, but I am, a truth teller and a truth seeker, and I'm going to be real with all of you. Like, if you want to experience a life filled with pleasure, you have to be open to the other side of that pleasure. Like, there's this contrast and duality in our lives, and this is what makes life so beautiful and so worth living. Because if sadness didn't exist, I wouldn't know how to identify joy, and I wouldn't be so excited when I feel the joy. If grief didn't exist, I wouldn't know what the true depth of love feels like. If I didn't lose my brother, I would see the world so differently, because I like this is why, like, yesterday I literally woke up and I was like, I just saw so much. I cried out of just seeing so much beauty in the world. I cried. I saw a rainbow. I saw the heron, and I was like, I had this lens of love that I was looking through because I'm alive. But I also felt that depth of grief, you know? So this is like the most beautiful part about being human, and what makes us like so so alike but also so different from each other, is that we're all feeling these different emotions at different times, and then there's moments when there's overlap and there's resonance, and it's like, I feel you. I feel your heart. I'm here. I'm right here with you. I entered this cave with you. We both lit this fire together, and I feel the joy that this fire just brought both of us, and I'm here. I feel the depth. And when we lit that fire, we were able to see everything else that was in this cave. And holy shit, it's beautiful. I see all of the crystals, all of the gems that I didn't even know existed, because I allowed myself to go there, to be there, instead of pushing it away. Um, this is like a great little segue into Feminine Reborn. So, those of you that are, in this space where you're resonating with everything that I'm saying, you really want to feel your emotions, you really want to attract instead of like pushing, like magnetize instead of forcing connection, instead of trying to make things happen with connection, with money, with partners, with friendships, like, and you really just want to be in your feminine again, and actually, like, I'm sure that when I say that, lots of you are like, I don't even know what that means, Alex. What that means is being connected to your feminine energy, to your softness, to your love, to your truth, allowing yourself to be present in your life. Like, that is what we're going to be doing in Feminine Reborn, is we're truly rebirthing your feminine so that you can be present in your life, so that you can no longer have this mold impacting your walls and impacting the foundation and the infrastructure. We can clean off this mold, and we can live like truly live, truly be here, and release these old patterns of punishing other people, release these old wounds of, within the relationships that we thought we could never heal, within how we behave in relationships, within these identities that we've created for ourselves of, I have to do it all myself. If I let someone help me, they're just going to disappoint me. I have to be independent because I was supposed to be independent as a kid, and I had to, and then I just carried this into my adulthood, within this identity of, I am an overgiver, nobody ever gives to me, and I feel taken advantage of. No, nobody can take advantage of you unless you allow them to. Overgiving is a choice. This is an identity that you've created for yourself, and this is an identity that we get to let go of. Maybe growing up, overgiving was what you had to do, what was told to you that you were supposed to do in order to feel valued, and you've been given a lie. People don't create your value, you create your value. You choose, I am valuable, I am valuable. You don't You don't decide if I'm valuable or not. And this is what we're tightening our relationship with ourselves within Feminine Reborn. And we're creating and connecting to our true feminine, this woman that is inside of us, that wants to show up in the world with emotional maturity, that wants to show up with love, that wants to share her love, share her joy, and be present in her sadness, be present in her grief, be present in her anger without judging herself, right? Like this is who we are ready to be. This is what we're going to be moving through in Feminine Reborn. We're releasing the overgiver. We're releasing Miss Independent. This hyper independent of I don't need no man. We're releasing that. No, you don't need a man. No, you don't need support. But you can have support. You can receive love. We're releasing this person that is saying like I don't get to receive, or I don't feel safe to receive. It's safe for you to receive. We're gonna open up these channels of receiving for you so that you can receive again. And as somebody that I, for a lot of my life, I was not able to receive because I didn't feel safe to receive because of the way that I grew up. It wasn't safe for me to receive. It meant that I had to give something back. It meant that I did like something wrong. Like it was this impacted me so much in my adulthood. And this is what created this like hyper independent person that didn't allow herself to receive. And I suffered a lot because of that. I suffered within my friendships. I suffered within my familial relationships. I suffered within my partnerships. And I felt like I was being treated like a piece of trash. And I overgave because I thought that's what gave me value. I thought that would show people that I was enough for them. That is what I had embodied for a long time, for most of my adulthood. And when I began this work 5 years ago, I didn't realize how much it would transform me. I didn't realize how this Miss Independent life that I was living, how much it was causing me to suffer because it was guised as empowerment. But I was suffering. I was moving from this space of I'm not worthy of receiving. I'm not safe to receive. I was moving from the space of I'm never enough. I'm never enough. I'm never enough for this friendship. I'm never enough for this partner. And then when I did this work, I took responsibility for my role, for the standards that I set for of how other people treat me. I took responsibility for the relationships that I had chosen, for choosing to give even when it didn't feel correct to give, and giving from a space of I want validation rather than giving from a space of purity, rather than giving from a space of I'm just I'm just giving. This is just I can give and that's it and I don't need anything in return. When I let that go, my life changed. The people I attracted changed. I attracted people that were also givers, that wanted to give to me as much as I wanted to give to them. And there was no expectation. It wasn't like, you need to give to me, Alex, or you need to give to me, friend. It was just like, I want to give to you. I attracted people that wanted to support me through my journey, and I wanted to support them. I attracted money in amounts that I did not know would ever happen for me. I didn't think was possible for me because I grew up in poverty and we were homeless multiple times. So this is this is like what can happen for you if you fully allow yourself to be in your feminine. You give yourself permission and you actually cultivate a connection with this part of you. And you take responsibility for the fact that you create your fucking life. You create it. The partner that's hurt you, you didn't make him hurt you, but you set the energetic landscape, you set the standard for how he treats you. The friendship, the friend that calls you only when they need something. Again, you set that standard. We get to change this standard. And when we live in our feminine, the more you open yourself up to living in your feminine, the more you open yourself up to receiving and show yourself that it's safe to receive, the more you will experience the beauty of this world, the more you will magnetize and attract the love, the deep love that you desire, that this like earth shattering love. The more that you will experience the friendships that feel like irreplaceable, like that feel like every time you talk to them, it's like your heart is awakened and there's no other relationship like it. And there's an abundance of them. The more you will attract the opportunities, the money, like the things that you desire from this space of your own power, of your own feminine. Instead of pushing, instead of controlling, instead of I have to do it all of myself, instead of all of this is what it gets to be. This is what it gets to look like. And when shit gets hard, she's there. And you know that there's going to be beauty that's going to be birthed from that difficult thing. You know that there's going to be pleasure on the other side. And you hold yourself through it. It's not about just magnetism and things being great and joyful and happy and beautiful. It's about being able to hold yourself through the conflict, through the difficult situations, through the broken down friendships and relationships. How are you going to hold yourself? So this is the work that we do in Feminine Reborn, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Honestly, like we're starting in March, and this is going to be a 3-month program. I'm going to be bringing in breath work. It's going to be live. You also have free Q&As, and you also have theta healing that will come in with Sydney, and it's honestly, it's going to be transformational for you. You are going to live life in such a different way. And when the difficult things come your way, when you have conflict with your husband, when you have conflict with your mom, when you lose someone, whatever happens, you're going to be looking at it from such a different perspective than you used to. You are going to be holding yourself in such a different way than you used to, with grace, with authenticity, with love, with truth. That's what we're doing here. That is what we're doing here, because you deserve to live a life that you love. You deserve to breathe. So Feminine Reborn is $2,222 if you pay in full, but we also have payment options. We have a 4-month payment option, guys. Like we're trying to make this so accessible for you, and the reason why is, like I said, like we want you to live your dreams. Like we really do, and we believe not only that you get to, but that you deserve to. Like it doesn't have to be this way. We get to show this generation a different way of being. We get to show them that the feminine matters, that energy matters, that emotions matter, that these are actually what makes life so fucking beautiful. So if you are interested in working with us in Feminine Reborn, let us know. We will drop the link below. You can also reach out to Sydney or myself to book a call and explore kind of the other options. We do have another program that will be coming out. We're going to talk about this program next week. So this is actually a mastermind. And this one is going to be more for those of you that are entrepreneurs or that have your own businesses. Um, and it's really around cultivating intimacy with yourself, with your business, with money, and with clients. Feminine Reborn, this is for, those of you that want to cultivate that deep relationship with yourself, um, and allow that deep relationship with yourself and your feminine to influence and impact all of the other relationships in your life. And then we also have 2-on-1s. So we have the 2-on-1 business expansion. This is a 3-month 2-to-1. So typically 1-on-1, but it's 2-to-1 because it's with Sydney and myself. You're going to be getting copy reviews. We're going to be looking at your strategy. Sydney's going to be helping you with automation. She's also going to be bringing in energetic support. I'm going to be bringing in some energetic support as well. And we're really going to be focusing on expanding your business through self leadership. Um, so if you're interested in that, you can let us know as well. And we would love to chat with you more about it. If you resonate with Sydney or myself, like please reach out. Like we want to get to know you. We want to support you. And we know that what we've created is going to support you. It's going to help you. It's going to expand you. Um, it's going to expand you. Yeah, and like transform your life for the better. Every single one of these programs, like I can say that with conviction. So thank you for being here. I love you all. Sydney's going to be turning off the live. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Next week we do have a freaking badass, I'm so excited, a badass program happening. This is going to be our last free training for a little bit. This is, I'm going to talk more about it later. I'm not going to spoil it, but it is called Destined and it's going to be around Monday. And I feel like when I teach this, I'm going to be going through an initiation with you all. So mark your calendars. We're going to be putting the event in the group soon. And honestly, like I said, like take advantage of these free trainings, guys, because there's so much goodness in them, and like you can pull so much goodness from it. And we're not going to do a free training for a little bit. So yeah, I love you all. And I will see you so soon. Particularly, I will see you on Monday for our mini reading. So have a great weekend. Here we go. Are we good?
Yes.
I was like, you are muted. Oh, my phone is